All right, so I ran over here. I'm so excited about the content today. It's called How R Shiny Works. We're going to go into some basics. And essentially, what R Shiny is a web application. It allows you to create your own web application. However, you're going to only be able to locally host this web application. In another course, I'll teach how to actually host it onto the actual internet. But here we're going to learn how to create, at least how it works, how the R Shiny works. So if you haven't done so already, let's go to our console and let's make sure that you've downloaded or installed Shiny. Of course, I already have this downloaded, so it's not going to take too long for me, but you can pause the video and let it download on your end or install on your end. And so the way I'm actually going to open up this R Shiny is the most conventional way, but it's not the only way of actually running an R Shiny. So this is probably maybe the first time, and probably do this maybe one or two more times after this, but here we go. So we go ahead and click on a green plus button and go down to where it says Shiny Web Application. Okay, and so what we're going to do is we're going to name this Test 1. So in terms of a teaching moment, when it comes to creating an R Shiny, there's going to be two separate aspects, and I'm going to talk more about that in a little bit. One's called the user input, the other one's called the server. You can either have it as one file or two separate files. I prefer it to be one file, so I'll keep it as single. I won't do much there, but you can do this on your, when you get more advanced, you may like it as two separate files. The next thing that you would want to do is determine where you're going to save it. Okay. Here you would save it as test_1. Sorry. You can create a new folder and save it as test_1. Sorry. And just say open. Okay. And once you press open, you can now just press create, and this is going to create your web application, your first R Shiny. And so without going into too much details, let's go ahead and just reap the benefit. So reaping the benefit, let's go ahead and press run app. And so it's going to do what it's done in terms of R Markdown. So this is what it looks like. And again, R always gives you a basic example of whatever you're trying to create. We can open this up in our web browser by clicking open in browser. So let's go ahead and click in browser, and we'll see this web application. So what's happening here is that you're able to determine the number of bins. Okay, if it's 8, you have 8 bins. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, and you can go all up to 50. So that's kind of cool. So here, what's happening here, this is the user input. I'm inputting a number, which is determining an output. Okay. And this output is a histogram. So it's going from the user input to a server, and then that's spitting out some kind of, plot, which is a histogram in this situation. So let's actually see what that means in terms of the code. So this time I'm actually going to go to my notes and highlight what I just said, is that here again is the user input, the slider box. Okay, this, let me name it a slide. And then the output is just the display, okay, which is in this case a histogram. So it doesn't always have to be a plot. It could be various types of things, which we'll see in future videos, but here it is a histogram. So going back to R, this aspect here is called the user input, which is what we were talking about earlier. So this slider input is going to be what the user is able to input into the computer. Okay, so they can have a min of 1 or a max of 50. The default value is going to be 30. The user is going to see the number of bins, and that number of bins that they select is going to be saved as bins. The little nuanced thing about how R works is that it's going to save bins within input. So in order for you to gain access to the actual bins, you have to do input $sign bins. Okay, so keep that in the back of your mind. So granted that we have this information, that's my user input, that information is going to be communicated to the server, right? And here represents me calculating the number of bins. You don't have to worry about the math and the functionality of sequence, but the only thing to really be aware of is this input $sign bins. So that's the information that's being given to the server from the user input. So that determines the number of bins. Then it plots a histogram. Okay, so then it plots a histogram. So the information from the server, from the user input, is being placed into the server, and then the output is then the plot, which is created here in main panel. Okay, and then after that, both information, the server as well as the user input, is placed into the Shiny app. So if you go to the notes, I basically re-explain the same exact thing. Okay, so that's it for this video. We'll go into a little bit more details in a little bit. Hopefully you enjoyed, and I'll talk to you all in the next video.